Stay tuned for mystery and adventure. Hello there, this is Victor Ives, and this is the program, The Golden Age of Radio Theater. We're going to turn back the clock to relive the golden moments of radio's yesteryear and bring you some of the greatest radio shows of all time. This time, The Haunting Hour, and an episode entitled Destination Unknown. And then later this hour, Barrie Craig, confidential investigator. And the case is the Moe and Harry story. For a while, I thought we were going to do a Three Stooges bit here with Moe, Shemp, and Larry. An intriguing title, and I'm sure an interesting program from 1954. But first, The Haunting Hour.
Destination Unknown. In our lives, one word plays an important part. That word is impulse. How often have you had a sudden impulse to speak to a stranger, to quit your job, or to board a train, destination unknown? That's what Kirk Holland did. And because it could easily happen to you, let me tell you his story. Kirk was a young, romantic sort of a chap, and he lived in a little town called Amesville. He had a bookshop there, on the square. And like other people of the town, oftentimes Kirk stood in the small station and watched the 8:45 pull up to the shed. His life was a quiet life, until that night. It was raining, and Kirk stood under the train shed. The steam engine puffed by, then the mail car, a coach, and another. The train stopped. Directly before him, framed in the misty window, was the face of a girl. And it was a tortured face full of pain and sadness. Suddenly, Kirk felt an unconquerable impulse to help this stranger. He stood staring at the girl's dark eyes, and then, suddenly, the coach gave a little lurch forward, and Kirk ran to the steps of the car and swung onto the train. He knew that more than anything in the world, he wanted to speak to that girl. He had to know who she was. So he took a deep breath, pushed open the door, walked down the aisle, and sat down on the seat opposite her. Finally, he leaned forward a little and said, "What's the matter? Why do you cry like that?"
What?
I'm sorry. My name is Kirk Holland. I don't mean to bother you, but I couldn't help wondering if there's something I can do.
No, I'm all right.
Never seen a woman cry like that before.
Maybe it's because women usually cry because they're sorry for themselves. That's not my reason.
What is the reason, then?
I'm crying for someone else.
Oh. Because you're leaving him? You're going away?
No, and yes.
Where are you going?
To a farm I used to visit when I was that high. It's very out of the way, up in Canada. I'm going back again.
Oh, vacation, then?
No, I'm going there to stay. Forever. But I'm glad you spoke to me. It made everything easier.
You smiled a little, then?
Oh, I had a thought.
What?
Oh, it's nothing.
Tell me what.
Well, I was thinking, suppose somehow in the next few minutes there'd be an accident. The train off the track, a mass of steaming, mangled coaches. And suppose I were to be killed.
Well, why do you think of that?
Well, it might happen. It might easily. If it did, I'd want you to do something for me.
What?
I'd send you on an errand. Tonight. I'd send you backstage at the Opera House in New York.
And what would I do there?
I'd want you to go to a man who'd be standing in the wings, smoking a long cigarette. A little gray-haired man named Lawrence Blaine, my singing teacher.
And what would I say?
You'd say, I was with Iris Martin when she died. She said to tell you she was sorry for what happened. But the thing she did was all she could do to keep you from bringing unhappiness.
Go on.
I'd want you to take Lawrence Blaine by the arm and lead him to some place where it was quiet and stay with him for a little while. Because he'd meet somebody.
And after that?
That's all. There's no after that. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Thank you for listening. Oh, train's slowing down. Where are we?
Clarkston.
Clarkston?
What's the matter?
Nothing. Will you save my seat for me?
Of course.
My eyes are so red and ugly. You've been very kind. Goodbye, Mr. Holland.
You're listening to The Haunting Hour on the Golden Age of Radio Theater. Now, back to The Haunting Hour.
She took up her polo coat and purse and walked away. Kirk watched her slim body move down the aisle. A feeling of loss fell over him. Why had she said goodbye like that? He waited, his heart pumping fast inside him, his breathing short and quick. Something was the matter. The watch on his wrist ticked away 1 minute, 2. She didn't come back. Then suddenly the train was starting. Kirk sat up. Then from out the corner of his eyes, on the platform beyond the window, he caught a fleeting glimpse of her polo coat disappearing in the dingy station. She was running away. She'd gone out of his life, desperately and forever. He ran down the aisle, out on the car's platform, and jumped off the train. The station platform was deserted. He ran across the platform into the almost empty waiting room. She was not there. Then, through the large open window under a street lamp, he saw her just as she turned a corner out of sight. But when he reached the corner, the street was empty, except for a mist that hung like a ghost over the pavement. He ran on, his mind frantic with terror and haste. Then, ahead, like fuzzy balls of flame in the night, he saw 2 rows of lights shining dimly over the curving span of a bridge. He strained his eyes to the misty darkness. His ears were taut for sound. Then, ahead, lying forlorn and solitary on the bridge, he saw a girl's polo coat and a blue beret and a pocketbook. He held onto the rail and looked down into the dizzy darkness of the river. His mind was spinning. He felt helpless and lost, like a child. For a moment, he stood listening to the swiftly moving river. And at last, slowly, he took up the polo coat and the blue beret and the pocketbook and started back through the heavy fog.
Hello, Merrill. This is Inspector Jones, headquarters. Fellow here says a woman jumped off the North Bridge about 15 minutes ago. Better get the riverboats looking for her. Okay? Okay. Well, the boats will pick her up, Mr. Holland.
If only I'd been sure I could have stopped her. She was too young.
Here, let's have a look at this pocketbook. Usual things. Lipstick, compact, change purse. And here's a note addressed to Iris Martin. Signed by somebody named Maestro. She mention him?
No. Unless it's her music teacher, Lawrence Blaine.
Iris, I'm determined. Tonight at the second intermission, do not try to stop me. Be ready to sing. Maestro. This mean anything to you?
I know nothing at all.
Probably has something to do with a suicide. It may be important.
Inspector, I have an appointment. I'd like to go.
Okay, Mr. Holland. But you'll have to identify the body. When we find it, I'll get in touch with you. As a matter of fact, this case can stand investigation. From this note, it looks to me like something more than suicide.
Kirk Holland stood for a moment on the sidewalk outside the police station. She had asked him to do an errand. He looked at his watch and started down the street toward the railway station. Now his destination was not unknown.
Is this the stage door of the Opera House?
Yep. What you want?
I'd like to see a man named Lawrence Blaine.
Nobody's allowed backstage.
But it's about Iris Martin. She asked me
Miss
to...
Martin? Well, that's different. They've been looking all over town for her. Down the hall there. See those 2 men? The white-haired one's Mr. Blaine.
Thanks.
1 minute. Second act in 1 minute.
Leave me alone, Barrie.
1 minute.
I tell you, I've called everyone.
But how could you let her out of your sight? She was upset, nervous.
Oh, on stage, everybody. On stage.
Oh, Mr. Blaine?
Yes?
I have a message for you. It's from Miss Martin.
From Miss Martin? What is it? I'm Antonio Vario.
The message is from Mr. Blaine.
Where is she? We've been frantic trying to
On
find
stage,
her.
Mr. Barrio. The curtain's waiting.
All right, I'm coming.
Please, Mr. Barrio, on stage.
Maestro,
Ready to go on.
wait in my dressing room. I'll be back in 20 minutes, please.
Where is Miss Martin? Why did she run away like this?
I have bad news for you, Mr. Blaine.
Bad news? What bad news? What's happened?
Mr. Blaine, she drowned herself in the North River in Clarkston. They're searching for her body now.
Drowned? No. Oh, Iris, my child. What have I done to you?
Lawrence Blaine's face was gaunt and pale. He stood like a dumb man. And remembering what the girl Iris had told him, Kirk took the old man's arm and led him out the stage door. He hailed a taxi, and when they reached the maestro's studio, the old man sank in a large, easy chair, staring ahead into an empty future. Then he began to speak.
Mr. Holland, this girl was my life. She was like my own child. I loved her with all my heart. I taught her to sing. I taught her to use the magic of her voice. And it was incomparable magic. Look at me, Mr. Holland. Look at an old man whose love outweighed his good sense.
I understand, Mr. Blaine.
But it was my dream that Iris be great. Greater than any singer who ever lived. That dream was my only reason for living. And nothing should stand in its way. Not even Madame Zadrini.
Madame Zadrini?
Yes, she knew the greatness of Iris' voice. She knew my Iris could surpass her. And she was determined Iris never have that chance. That is why I planned to kill her.
Oh. And Miss Martin knew what you planned?
I was mad to even think of it. But it was the only way, Mr. Holland. The only way I could convince Iris of her greatness. To have her sing in Madame Zadrini's place. Now it is too late. Too late.
Maestro, a terrible thing is...
Please, Mr. Barrie, don't excite him.
This is no time for pampering. Something terrible has happened at the opera, Maestro.
What is it, Barrie?
When the call came after the second intermission, Madame Zadrini did not appear. They found her in a dressing room, murdered. Where the place was in an uproar. I will tell you, there was no understudy. They were calling frantically for Iris.
Barrie, you mean Madame Zadrini? How did she die?
Poison, they said, poison. I do not know more than that. But where is Iris? This man said he brought you a message from her.
He did. But Iris is dead.
Dead? What are you saying?
It is true, Mr. Vario. Miss Martin drowned herself.
Then it was you who killed her, Maestro. You.
Please, Mr. Vario.
He wrote her a note, telling her what he planned to do. He planned to murder Madame Zadrini. Iris told me all about it. Maestro. Then you did kill her.
No, Vario, I didn't. I tell you.
And Iris killed herself to keep you from it. Maestro, the police, they will find out that
the police already know. They have the note. It was in her pocketbook. That note is incriminating, Mr. Blaine. I read it.
My poor Iris. As you say, Vario, she killed herself to save me. And now, with a little piece of paper she left behind, she condemns me for a crime I didn't commit.
We'll return to Destination Unknown on The Haunting Hour from the Golden Age of Radio Theater in just a moment. Once again, The Haunting Hour.
One night, Kirk Holland obeyed his impulse to talk to a girl he saw crying in the window of the night train from New York. Her name was Iris Martin. When she left the train, Kirk followed to discover she had drowned herself in the North River. Kirk went to New York to tell Lawrence Blaine, the girl's singing teacher, of Iris Martin's suicide. Later, in Blaine's studio, Antonio Vario, an opera star, appeared to say that Madame Zadrini had been murdered. Because of an incriminating note written by Blaine indicating he would kill Madame Zadrini so Iris might sing in her stead, a note the police found in the pocketbook of Iris Martin, Lawrence Blaine was arrested for the murder of Madame Zadrini. Kirk Holland went back to Amesville. During the following weeks, he walked the shaded streets of the town, and in his mind flashed images of Iris Martin. Sometimes in his sleep, he awoke calling the dead girl's name. When Lawrence Blaine was brought to trial, he testified for the aging man and listened as the district attorney said,
"Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I ask you to consider the evidence. You have heard the analysis. Arsenic in Anna Zadrini's body and in the dregs of her teacup. Tea that she drank during the second intermission in her dressing room. Consider, then, that this murderer was a man of shrewd intelligence. Do not be deceived by the absurd plea of the defense that because Iris Martin was dead, Lawrence Blaine had no motive for murder. Remember, this fiendish little man was sick with hatred for Anna Zadrini. That's the reason he stole into her dressing room in the afternoon of that black day and placed the poison in those tea bags. Ladies and gentlemen, I demand the maximum penalty for Lawrence Blaine. Murder in the first degree.
Before I pass sentence on you, Lawrence Blaine, have you anything to say to the court?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Then it is my duty as judge of this high court of justice to sentence you, Lawrence Blaine, to die in the electric chair on the last day of October.
So Lawrence Blaine was sentenced to die. That afternoon in the city prison, Kirk Holland stepped into the dark cell to find Antonio Vario talking to the condemned man.
Good afternoon, Vario. Hello, Mr. Blaine.
Mr. Holland, what can we do? There must be something we can do for him.
There is nothing, Barrie. And what does it matter now? What does it matter?
Have they found a body, Mr. Holland? You've kept in touch with the police in Clarkston.
They found no trace of her, Vario.
Then we must get lawyers for you, Maestro. Good lawyers who will appeal to the governor.
Yes, there's still a chance.
It doesn't matter, I tell you. What reason do I have to live now? I'm an old man. My time has come. And Iris is dead. Without Iris, there is no reason to live.
I know, Maestro. I know. There is something I've never told you.
What, Vario?
I loved her, too. I had asked her to marry me a day or two before she died.
You, Barrie?
Yes, yes. I would have done anything for her. Anything.
In the week that followed, the governor refused a reprieve for Lawrence Blaine. Kirk went back to Amesville. The weeks passed. Finally, the day came when Lawrence Blaine was to die. Kirk left his bookshop that night and walked the wide streets of the little town. With every step, he walked deeper into the shadowy presence of Iris. She was everywhere. And she was not dead, but she was alive in his mind. There was the tilt of her head, her small, round face, her sad smile. Now and then he was sure he saw her. Iris just turning a corner ahead. Iris standing alone under the glow of a street lamp. But it was only the ghost of a memory he loved. It was this memory and his desire to be close to where she had been that led him to the station that evening. A winter's cold rain had begun to fall, and through it, out of the darkness, came the black engine, out of a cloud of white steam, moving slowly past the shed. The mail car, a coach, and another. Kirk felt his body tingle. Then, directly before him, framed in the misty window...
Iris! Iris!
He bounded under the car, pushed open the door, and stood transfixed in the aisle as she half rose from her seat with a little cry.
Mr. Holland.
Iris, Martin, it's you.
All the way I've been hoping, wishing for you. And you came.
I can't believe it. Where have you been? We thought you were dead.
I know. I was in Canada, miles away from anything. I didn't know what happened till yesterday. I saw a newspaper in the village store.
And you know Mr. Blaine has been convicted of murder.
And he's innocent. I know he is. Come with me to help him, Mr. Holland.
Oh, you couldn't keep me away.
I've got to save him. There's something I know that may save him. Oh, please, help me again.
I will, Iris.
You see, I thought if everyone believed me dead, it was the only way I could think of to keep him from killing her. He was doing it for me, and I couldn't stop him.
I know. He told me.
Oh, can you ever forgive me, Mr. Holland? That night on the train, when you spoke to me, I needed somebody to send back to New York to tell the maestro I was dead before he could commit this crime. So I used you. I thank you now for what you did.
Nothing matters except that you're alive.
Oh, take me to somebody in authority, to the district attorney. You see, I know who murdered Madame Zadrini, and there's only one way to prove it.
Hello?
Mario, this is Kirk Holland.
Yes, what is it?
I have some news for you. Good news.
The reprieve?
No, it's about Iris Martin.
Have they found her body?
Yes, she's alive, Mario.
What?
It's true. We're on our way now to the district attorney's office. She asked me to call you. She wants you to come down to the DA's office right away.
I can't believe it.
Will you be there?
Of course, right away.
Well, I must say, Miss Martin, your appearance is dramatic, to say the least. But as district attorney, I can't see from what you've told me how your evidence will clear Lawrence Blaine.
But I told you, I have no proof.
Can't you stay the execution for a day or two till we can get the proof?
Well, It's very irregular.
But with Vario's help and a little time, I'm sure I can prove the maestro innocent. Oh, please, he'll be here any minute. Give us the chance.
If you'd tell me what you have in mind, Miss Martin, maybe the governor would intervene, but... Well, frankly, I couldn't call him with the scanty information you've given me. Why, you were miles away when the murder was done.
Was I? How do you know I was?
Iris, this is magnificent. I can't believe it.
I'm glad you're here, Vario.
My dear, what can I say? I missed you more than you'll ever know.
Thank you, Vario.
Why did you do this to us? Why?
I'll explain to you later. Right now, Vario, we've got to do everything we can to save the maestro. We have to tell the truth.
What truth?
Vario here will back me up when I tell you that at rehearsal, on the afternoon of the day Madame Zadrini was murdered, she used the last of her imported tea.
Iris.
Is that right, Mr. Vario?
Yes, that is right.
Vario was standing with me when Madame Zadrini asked me to lend her a few bags of tea from my dressing room. That's true, isn't it, Vario?
Iris, what are you... Yes, that is true.
So you see, the tea that murdered Madame Zadrini was tea she borrowed from me.
Iris.
You mean that...
No, she doesn't mean that. Iris, what are you saying?
Lawrence Blaine did not commit the murder. Vario's trying to protect me, but he knows quite well that I poisoned the tea bags. I killed Madame Zadrini.
Iris, but that's not true. She's only saying that
Don't
because
believe him. Vario loves me. He'd do anything to keep you from knowing. He'd let the maestro die to save me.
Is what she says true, Mr. Vario?
I don't know. Iris, what have you done?
The only thing I could do, Vario, to save the maestro's life.
But it doesn't make sense. Will you sign this confession, Miss Martin?
Yes, I'll sign anything. Only call the prison before it's too late.
Iris, tell them the truth.
I have told them.
No, she's lied. She did not do it. It was I who killed Madame Zadrini. I did it for you, Iris, because I've loved you for a long time. But it was the maestro who kept you from me. He was so cautious of where you went, whom you knew. And then, when I discovered he himself was planning to kill Madame Zadrini, when he had written such an incriminating note, I took over to make sure he would be convicted. I was planning to tell the police about the note. But when they found it in your purse, and when you yourself were supposedly dead,
You've said enough, Vario. You've almost allowed an innocent man to die for your own crime. Hello, this is the district attorney. Get me the governor's mansion and hurry. And tell Patrolman Hicks to bring a police car to the front door. He's to take a Miss Martin and a Mr. Holland to Southgate Prison. Lawrence Blaine is a free man.
How did you know it was Vario who killed her?
Well, I didn't for certain, but I knew Madame Zadrini had borrowed some tea from him. I heard her ask him for it.
Well, it's over now. Now everything will be just as the maestro wanted it. You will sing. You'll be a great star.
No, Kirk. No, because I don't want to be. I've never wanted to be, really.
Then what will you do?
I don't know. That'll come later.
Iris, the first night I saw you in the window of the train, I had a sudden impulse to know you. That's why I climbed aboard. If you hadn't come back, I'd have spent the rest of my life in love with you.
With a ghost?
With a brief memory. Now I have another impulse. Maybe to take you in my arms. Maybe to kiss you.
And you always obey your impulses?
From now on, I do.
That's the Haunting Hour, Destination Unknown. You're listening to the Golden Age of Radio Theater. Our program continues now with Barrie Craig, confidential investigator, played by William Gargan. And this is the case of Moe and Harry.
Barrie Craig speaking. Work is where you find it. When the case of Harry Jarvis fell into my lap, I was 900 miles from home base. Motoring south along the Florida highway. My destination, Miami. I wanted to see how horses were treating men at the big winter track. My usual annual stopover, about 100 miles this side of Miami, was a motel. The Happy Traveler Motel, the big neon sign said. A 16-cabin setup complete with hot showers and television, run by two partners, Mo Birch and Harry Jarvis. I knew the two of them way back. They'd run a custom haberdashery in New York once, before going south to change their luck. Inside, I found Mo, but missed Harry.
The last I seen Harry, he said goodbye.
For keeps, Mo?
Yeah.
After you two being inseparable for 10 years?
12. A business partnership's like a marriage. Sooner or later it gets tired, there's a divorce.
Well, one way of looking at it. Who saw it first, you or Harry?
Harry. You heard the words faithful unto death?
Who hasn't?
That's me. I'm a sentimental slob, Craig.
To change the subject, how's business?
You saw my vacancy signs driving in?
Yeah.
Then tell yourself the answer.
Business is lousy. I thought the Happy Traveler Motel was a going concern.
It was until Harry demanded his half interest in cash.
Oh. The books couldn't liquidate Harry's claim and still balance, huh?
Harry put $30,000 in his pocket. There wasn't even enough left to pay the towel and linen service.
So where do you go from here?
I don't know.
You loved Harry.
We knew ups and downs. Times were tough, we shared a crust of bread. Times were good, we bought each other diamond stick pins.
Then what's really got you worried about Harry?
Last spring, Harry married a cabaret girl, a Kiki Adams, a singer in a roadhouse.
I didn't know that.
A homely shrimp like Harry, 44 years old, not a hair on his bald head, taking a young cabaret chicken for a wife.
44's the dangerous age for men, they say. A crack opens in your head.
Yeah, and other things, Craig. The people Harry began to go around with, a bop musician, a hornblower with a crazy name, Bigelow Bernie. And the gangster in the silk suit.
Gangster in the silk suit?
Tony Saxon. They ran him out of New York. They ran him out of Miami.
They ran Tony Saxon out of San Francisco, Seattle, Nevada, and Dubuque.
It could only be my imagination, something out of my nervousness for Harry, but the last days before we dissolved partnership, to me, Harry had a frightened look, like he was...
Scared for his life?
Yeah. And another strange thing.
Yeah?
He took his money and went. He had a bus ticket for Key West, he said. The bus at 6 o'clock that night.
But?
I asked the driver the next day, Krogan, the driver. He stops over here to grab a bite and wash up. How did Harry look to him on the bus, I asked. But no Harry. Krogan said Harry never got on that bus.
You find it mysterious?
What I find more mysterious is that Harry's wife, Kiki Adams, is still right here in town, in the same furnished apartment they rented last spring.
Maybe Harry ditched her.
Crazy the way he was over her? Impossible. Also, thinking from the angle of the wife, the cash opportunity she grabbed when she married the poor fish Harry.
Harry's $30,000 in cash.
Exactly. I asked you, would Kiki let a gold mine slip away on a bus? Craig, I need some help.
Well, I figured only to stay overnight.
Stick around, Craig. Find Harry for me.
All right, I'll stay a few days. Try to find out what did happen to him. What cabin have I got?
Cabin 4, the best. You get washed up, Craig. Then I'll broil you a steak. Free. On the house.
2.5 pounds of porterhouse steak later, with my stomach a foot in front of me, I went calling on Kiki Adams. 212 Elm Street. I had directions on me written out by Mo Birch. Drive east across the railroad tracks, then north 1/4 of a mile past the county jail. 1/4 of a mile past the county jail, I stopped. 212 Elm Street was a 2-story frame building sandwiched between an abandoned schoolhouse and a plumbing supply wholesaler. A big front door with isinglass slits on it and a brass knocker. I banged the knocker a little while, and then I tried the doorknob. I made less progress there. The doorknob came off in my hand. A situation like that can become embarrassing. This one did.
All right, drop it, Sam.
It?
The doorknob, Sam. I saw you cop it.
You misjudge me, friend.
I'm on the steps there beating my feet. I got a cold eye on you, Sam. You're low down jelly belly to the grass.
Jelly belly? Hey, what kind of jive?
Bigelow Bernie, Sam, and don't scratch your violin at me.
Bigelow Bernie. I've heard about you. You're the bop musician.
Hey, man, who's been scatting scandal about Bigelow Bernie?
Never mind who's been scatting. Look, I'm a detective. Barrie Craig. I'm here to visit a lady, Mrs. Harry Jarvis.
Oh, Kiki, huh? My eye's getting colder, Sam.
Where can I find Kiki Adams, Mrs. Harry Jarvis?
At the downbeat.
The downbeat? That the club she works in?
That is.
Thanks. You go back to beating your feet. And while you're mooning over Blue Mama Kiki, keep one fact in mind, huh?
Shoot me, Sam.
Kiki is supposed to be another man's wife. Put that in your horn and blow it, music man. I got to drive Kiki home after a 12 midnight turn was extended to upstairs.
Make yourself comfortable.
To do that, I'd have to take off my shoes.
Be my guest. Well, how you like my home sweet home?
Charming.
Liar. It's a crummy dump.
It could use a coat of paint.
It could use a match.
I know the answer.
What?
Move.
Tell that to my husband.
I will. Where is he?
Harry's away on a trip.
Oh.
Lover, I want to set you straight.
On?
How you got here.
Well, you invited me.
To pass the time socially. I'm a night owl, not a butterfly.
Have I made a pass, doll?
No, not yet.
So why the sermon?
I got a canned speech I use on guys I pick up with.
All right, finish it.
I don't like talking to myself when I get home after the show. I tried being an introvert once. I don't like it. You're up here only for conversation, lover. End of canned speech.
All right, if I made a speech now?
Speak.
Exactly where is Harry Jarvis?
Why should you care?
I'm worried about him.
Worry? You know my husband?
I do. Know him and like him.
Well, this is news.
You never asked me why I popped into your life.
No, I assumed you were just another John looking to get acquainted.
I looked you up on Harry's account. To put it simply, I'm a detective.
A detective? With Harry on your mind?
Yes.
Why? What's with Harry?
He isn't around.
Yeah, I told you he's away on a trip.
You failed to say where.
Where? Well, I don't know.
Well, you're his wife.
Well, sure, but he didn't say where he was off to. I didn't even see him when he left. I was at the club. There was a note waiting for me when I got home that night.
Well, what did the note say?
Say, call away for a few days, something like that.
Well, when was this?
A week. No, 8 days ago.
Where's the note?
I got rid of her. What reason would I have to save her?
Well, in these 8 days, has Harry contacted you?
No.
And you didn't find that strange?
I guess I did a little, but...
But?
This may shock you.
I'm shock-proof.
It was a relief with Harry away, so I didn't worry too much about his silence. You see, Harry's in his middle age.
But you married him.
Yeah, I did.
Why?
Why? Search me, I ask myself.
I'm going to ask you a big question now. Get on record with an honest answer, and you'll thank yourself sometime.
What's the big question?
Did you know Harry had liquidated his half-interest in the Happy Traveler Motel? That on or about 8 days ago, Harry had $30,000 in cash on him?
Well, I knew he was selling out in the motel. I know he'd already done it, or about the cash. Something happened to Harry?
Until I know better, I'm proceeding on that premise, Mrs. Jarvis. I left Kiki to waste her fragrance on the four walls of her flat. Downstairs, I ran into a familiar figure. Back sitting on the next-door schoolhouse steps, busy, quote, beating his time, the bop musician, Bigelow Barrie.
You're real low-down jelly belly to the grass, Sam.
I don't rate the cold eye, Bernie. I did nothing but converse with Kiki upstairs. It's still you and her husband in the field. I mean, if Passion Flower upstairs still has a husband. What's your thought about that, Bernie?
Harry will be home.
Then, why do you sit outside here beating your time and mooning over Kiki? Another man's wife, and no chance for yourself, you can see.
I got an answer for you, Sam.
I'm dying to hear it.
You see up there where I'm pointing? That flat under Kiki's?
Yeah?
I live there, Sam. I'm beating my time down here because I live up there.
Bernie.
Yes, Sam.
What if it turns out Harry Jarvis is never coming home to Kiki?
He left her?
Could be, no?
Oh, never.
Okay, so Kiki's one dish a man doesn't walk out on. But suppose Harry doesn't ever come home for a wholly different reason.
Man, only one reason would keep Harry from coming home.
Okay, anticipate me. Go ahead.
He'd have to be dead, Sam. Real gone. Sam, is that what you mean by Harry not coming home?
That's exactly what I mean.
That Harry's dead?
Dead. With you out in front now in the grab for Blue Mama.
You hitting around and maybe I killed Harry?
I'm asking you, would you kill Harry Jarvis?
No, N.O., man.
Then finger somebody for me. Somebody who would kill Harry.
Hey, you were supposing before, now you're not.
I've given up supposing. Come, Bernie, help the law and you help yourself.
Well, man, if Harry is dead, There's only one man I know
Who is this man?
sporting a silk suit.
Tony Saxon?
Man, Tony Saxon.
Why would Saxon want to kill Harry Jarvis?
Money, Sam. Harry was into Tony Saxon for money.
Gambling debts?
Tony Saxon is a gambler.
Where do I find Saxon in this town?
3 acres, that's the Fieldstone house on Chestnut and Raleigh. Man, Harry is dead, huh?
That's my morbid surmise.
Say, all right for me to go comfort the widow?
I'd say it's more decent to wait until the corpse confirms that fact.
You know I'm glad I had this talk with you, Sam.
No more feeling low down, jelly belly to the grass, huh?
Oh, no, I'm high in the stars, Sam, on a happiness jag.
You sure go for Kiki.
Oh, she's under my skin, Sam, under my quivering skin. Blue Mama Bigelow Bernie's blowing a high note tonight.
First broadcast, November 21st, 1954. You're listening to Barrie Craig, Confidential Investigator. Once again, our star, William Gargan.
I left Bigelow Bernie swinging in the trees. I went to look up Tony Saxon. The house was lit up like the people inside it were afraid of the dark. Every room inside, and floodlights outside on the big lawn. To get in, you had to pass through a fence, what looked like an electric fence, to keep prowlers and police at bay. I looked for a buzzer, but couldn't find one for the life of me. While wondering how to get in, somebody solved the riddle for me. A how do you do from behind that closed my eyes. I came to with something rattling in my ears. The rattling of bone like teeth. When I got my eyes open enough, I saw what it was. Chips. Ivory gambling chips on a green dice table. I was stretched out on the dice table.
He's up 6 and 32. You win, Morty. Pick up your money.
A sport in a black silk suit. Tony Saxon. What's this 6 and 32, mister?
The time it took you to come to. We made a bet on it here. Me and Morty and Fatso.
A bet on how long I'd be out?
I said 10 minutes. Fatso there said 8. Morty's bet was 6 minutes. You were out 6 minutes and 32 seconds on my stopwatch. Morty's bet.
Morty there owes me a cut for cooperating.
Beat it, boys. But not too far.
Beat it just far enough to be able to keep me covered, fellows.
We don't shoot fish in barrels, Craig.
Then give me a running start if you really want to be sportsmanlike.
You got death on the brain, Craig.
Craig. You keep calling me Craig.
Your name.
You know.
Your wallet says, so does your police license.
Did you restore everything back to my pockets in good order?
Everything except your gun. You get that on your way out. Irene in the main foyer. She has your hat and your gun.
So tell me.
One of the boys, Fatso there, saw you prowling outside. He figured you were a lonesome stick-up casing 3 acres. He tapped you.
My head doesn't just feel tapped. What happened to all the lights?
Lights?
The place was all lit up 6 and 32 ago.
We turned them off.
What happened to all the players?
You're pretty smart.
Smart enough to know you had a few games going here. Fatso didn't figure me a stick-up. He figured me a cop spelling a raid. He tapped me out until you shooed your guests home.
I won't admit it or deny it. What can I do for you?
Hand over the corpse of Harry Jarvis.
Harry Jarvis is dead.
I'll make book.
Dead but no corpse.
Not yet.
That's bad news if true.
You lost a friend?
A debtor. Harry owes me $20,000. His paper.
Maybe you owe his estate $10,000.
How's that?
The last Harry was seen, he had $30,000 on him.
Good night, Craig. Morty, show Craig out.
Hold up here behind an electric fence. After being thrown out of as many states as I can name, who do you pay protection to, Saxon?
Grandma Jones.
Grandma Jones?
My landlady. I rent 3 acres from her. Good night, Craig. Find Harry, let me know. A client of mine dies, I like to wire flowers.
Outside Saxon's fortress wall, I found fresh company. A chap parked in my car, sprawled on the rear seat. He looked dead until he spoke.
Don't you be alarmed, friend.
You better be alarmed. I'm pointing a gun at you.
Well, put it away. My name's Frawley. Bill Frawley. I'm the law here in Northgate. That is all the law they got this side of the county seat. Why don't you put the gun away?
When I see the badge.
Here it is. See, I was by the spruce across the street a while before. When that Saxton croupier came down on your head.
You just watched the show?
For now, I'm the law, but I'm peacefully inclined when it comes to Saxton's gang. He's the county commissioner's problem, and I got my complaint about Saxton up with Commissioner Hawkins right now. Besides, I was standing under that spruce with other things claiming my thoughts.
What other things?
Harry Jarvis, is he dead?
What's your answer to it?
Dead. Same conclusion you came to, friend.
How do you know?
Well, see, I was talking to Bigelow Burney after you had talked to him.
Oh, I see.
I got something down at the jailhouse now that kind of proves Harry Jarvis is dead. You have to come see?
I do.
Let's start it up.
The Northgate jailhouse was a clapboard frame shack a March wind could blow off its foundation. It had an office and a cell that could accommodate 2 overnight guests. At the moment, the room was a single. One prisoner, fast asleep on a cot.
He's what I brought you to see, Craig.
The prisoner?
Him.
Looks like a hobo.
That's a trade he claims. Says his name's Dusty Ames.
What does he do besides sleep?
Loves to cuss you out. He hadn't ate now for 3 days. Turned down chicken yesterday and today.
How come?
Hunger strike. He wants his constitutional rights.
Those being?
Freedom. Freedom. Put him back on the road, he said.
3 days, you said. What do you do here in Northgate? Throw away the keys?
Well, I'm waiting for the wagons to come take him to the county seat now. He'll get his hearing there.
How does he connect with Harry Jarvis?
Well, see the clothes on him?
Yeah.
The striped and blue suit? Those yellow shoes?
Well, who can miss them?
I know the suit and yellow shoes like they're my own. Harry's clothes. This Dusty Ames was wearing Harry Jarvis's clothes when I picked him up over in Route 9.
When Dusty Ames came awake, he began to howl.
I want my rights. I'm a Federalist. President McKinley will hear about this.
He does. You have a miracle on your hands. Look, Dusty, if you've got any wits, collect them.
Wits? Why, sir, I was professor of cosmological dialectics in Katydid College.
But the road got into your blood, huh?
The call of the wild Mackinaw.
So you turned in your cap and gown.
Took to the open highway.
And killed a man here in Northgate.
That's a lie.
You're in his clothes?
I found those clothes, sir.
We've been asking you where.
I wouldn't tell the sheriff. Why should I tell you?
Because when it comes down to it, I'm going to beat it out of you.
Civilized man always reverts to the beast.
Your predecessor in those clothes was a dear friend of mine, Dusty.
A dear friend? A man's greatest possession in a cold, materialistic world. Sir, I have a poem right here in my pocket, after the fashion of Edgar Guest. I'll read it. No matter where the road may go, I'll always think of dear friend Joe.
The bullfinch of the open road finally showed us where he'd found himself a new wardrobe. A tree hollow in the piney woods.
The clothes were right in there, sir. Wrapped in tar paper, set to burn. See the cinders?
Yeah, I see them. When you changed into the new clothes, what did you do with your own rags?
Hung them to a tree.
What for?
As a sign that Dusty Ames had come through. A sign that there were stray chickens in these parts.
A sign for other hobos.
Live and let live.
Craig.
Sure?
Harry Jarvis is buried here in Piney Forest.
Yeah, looks like. How big is Piney Forest?
Bigger than Northgate Township. Close to 400 acres.
Meaning we'd need a regiment to unearth the body here.
It needs more manpower than Northgate's got. We could appeal to the state governor for National Guard.
No. We may not need to.
Not need to turn up the body of Harry Jarvis?
The time and labor and agony. We might be able to avoid all that.
How's that?
See if we can get the murderer to find the body for us.
Now, that'd be a trick.
Trick is exactly what I have in mind. Yeah. We'll try to make a trick do for manpower, Sheriff. I briefed Sheriff Frawley on what I wanted him to do.
I'm to let the word get out that we got ourselves an eyewitness.
That your hobo prisoner let on he'd seen the actual murder and burial in Piney Forest. Now get on it, Sheriff. Sometimes it plays exactly according to script. Sometimes it doesn't. This time it did. I could hear the village chimes when the silhouette appeared at the jail window. Head and shoulders and face with no identity to it in the pitch dark. I was in the office under the desk. A neat hunk of gymnastics considering my size. It was more than 2 minutes before the killer dared to try the door. His feet were 6 inches from my nose when he stopped dead center in the office. I had to imagine the rest. My line of vision was too low now. I imagined him estimating the sleeping figure of Dusty Ames, estimating how to make his shots effective. I didn't wait for the murder of the hobo. I just took aim at a 45-degree angle from the floor and shot my pigeon in the leg. Catch a killer, it's time for rejoicing. But I didn't feel that way this time. I only felt like getting drunk.
It kept me like a fox playing games with a rabbit.
How's your leg, Mo?
On fire. Why didn't you aim higher?
Mo, why did you ask me to find Harry?
I asked you to find Harry to demonstrate to me how safe I was. I decided to make a test with you, a smart New York detective. If you couldn't catch me, nobody could. I could stop worrying. Well, you gave me a demonstration.
You killed Harry for his $30,000. You've got it stashed away.
I killed Harry because I was too old to start over again. We made a life together, and Harry was condemning me to death.
Bankruptcy isn't death, Mo.
At my age, it is. And my condition, it positively is.
Your condition?
Heart, liver, kidneys. Inside, I'm like a bombed-out Berlin. It was no time for me to start all over being young and ambitious.
Mo, my thought is you're a little off.
No, my friend. Say I'm worn out in the world, that's all. Just say that at 53, I, Mo Birch, got so confused I fired a gun at Harry Jarvis.
I want to know where you buried him, Mo.
Sure. You want to know, and I'll tell you. But right now, I'm gonna faint.
Sometimes you take no pleasure in the catch. Sometimes all you want to do is get drunk.
From November 21st, 1954, that was Barrie Craig, confidential investigator on the golden age of radio theater. In just a moment, we'll be back to answer a question about a Saturday morning drama program with Hollywood in the title. This question comes from Moses Lake, Washington, but it's about a Saturday morning drama show with Hollywood in the title. I believe you're referring to Stars Over Hollywood, which began in 1941 on CBS. The original announcer was Frank Goss. In 1944 and 45, the last year of the show, the announcer was Marvin Miller. Featured on the program were the likes of Basil Rathbone, Ellen Hale Sr., and Brenda Marshall. Stars Over Hollywood presented a series of original Saturday morning dramas on CBS. This is Victor Ives, and we present the golden age of radio theater on this station. We hope you'll join us next time we turn back the clock to relive the golden moments of radio's yesteryear and bring you some more of the greatest radio shows of all time.
For a copy of today's program, call 1-800-326-0296 and refer to show number 27. That number again is 1-800-326-0296. And remember to refer to show number 27.